Welcome all. So we've been having fun on our Uncapped demon form builds, running around, mowing everything down. But have you ever, just stopped, wondered, maybe it would be fun to try something else? I wonder if I could try a melee build, maybe go a Warbringer or a Titan, try some shield walled fun. Well, I don't actually really need to reroll. Why bother? Maybe I'll just set up a weapon swap. And off we go. Let's try some shield wall. So what I've done here, for those of you that may remember my last video, been playing around with armor stacking on the Uncapped demon form builds. And I was looking at the passive tree and I was just realizing, well, from this base, starting point, it actually wouldn't be too hard to just set up a completely different build on the weapon swap. So that's exactly what I've done. As you could see at the start, I was running my Uncapped demon form with the typical Frostbolt, Frost Dart setup, and now I'm running around with a shield using shield wall. So enough of that fun. Oh, if they actually let me go back to town, no, it won't. Little annoying mod there. Let's go back to town and I'll actually show you what I've done. I will stress it very quickly, disclaimer, this isn't so much a build guide as it is just a showcase showing some fun things you can do. We're getting to that point of the league, at least for myself, where I'm just starting to experiment and doing some silly things. And what I've done is, as you can see here, on my typical weapon set 1, I've got my wand and Wrath Pit running what I typically do for Frostbolt and Uncapped demon form. I have made some small changes, adding in a little bit more defensive layers with a armor-based helmet and a bit of Defiance of Destiny for a little bit of fun, just for that extra defensive layer. It makes you practically immortal unless you get one shot because of just the amount of recovery you get from the missing life every time you get hit. And it also makes, in terms of this setups, jumping between two builds rather than having two different amulets for level of spell skills and one for level of melee skills. The idea was to try and set something up which didn't need any swapping of anything between the two weapon sets while still remaining somewhat effective. Obviously, we compromise both setups to a degree in order to be able to switch between the two seamlessly. But as I said, bit of a showcase, bit of fun. Defiance of Destiny, really build agnostic, can fit into most builds. It's just a defensive amulet. Helps with the life stacking for the tech rods and Wrath Bit. And got the +1 level of all skills enchant on it, so it at least gives a little bit of level of skills to both the cold setup and the melee setup. And then on the weapon swap, I've added in a one-handed mace just with your level of melee skills, gain extra physical damage, break armor, bit of strength. The mace in a shield wall setup is purely a stat stick. You're really just looking for the level of melee skills, and then the extra fizz and break armor is a bonus. I don't want to really dive into the details of shield wall builds. This is really just going to be a quick video being a bit of a showcase and having a bit of a laugh. And then a big high armor shield with armor applies to Ellie. So what you can see here, just from a purely stats point of view, sometimes this bugs out swapping between the two weapon sets, but in my spellcasting setup, running a base armor of 32k now with some pretty high values for the elementals. And then if I swap into the shield wall, this is what I'll tell you about, it kind of bugs out a little bit, but there we go. Almost 41k and some pretty significant high values for the elemental. As I said, in this setup, unless I get one shot, pretty much can sit in the middle of a pack. Maybe I'll even, just while I'm talking, dive back into the map, see if we can run into a bunch of mobs. And maybe I don't get to eat my words, maybe I will die, but we'll have a look. No, there we go. Really highlights the defensive layers of this setup. So let's just try and clear this out and go back into town and continue with going over the details. All these mobs probably won't let me. Oh, just go back to the portal over here. Really, a lot of that sustain also, like I said, comes from the Defiance of Destiny. So that is really it in terms of the gear. The only things that were changed out with the helmet and the Defiance of Destiny from previous build setups. The helmet potentially could get away with just continuing to run the Veil of Night, but I don't think I've even set up I've got a decent amount of resistances. Ideally, the fire would be capped out, so I could probably do some tweaking around of socketables over capped on the chaos, so I could get the fire res up a little bit more, which would synergize well with Altered Flesh and just give a bit more defense. But anyway, going on, don't want to highlight on too many in-depth details. The passive tree has changed a little bit from the last armor variant. The start is still very much the same. We path up directly through here. Now on weapon set 1, we've got our spell casting specific nodes up here and here selected rather than across both weapon sets. That gives us 9 points of flexibility. It's not a lot, but it's actually enough. What I've also swapped out is the Megalomaniac, and specifically went for Killer Instinct. And this is one of the reasons why the melee swap actually works and functions relatively well to a degree. We are running a low life setup, so this one passive by itself gives us 100% attack damage. So great value. A second passive on that is a bonus if you can get a useful one. 100% increase on defensive equipped shield sounds good, but really it only equates to about 1,000 more armor, so not too significant, but at least does help. I've swapped out some of the jewels and gotten ones with increased armor, melee damage or attack damage, and gain rage on melee hit. The gain rage on melee hit is important for being able to spam our war cries a little bit easier, because typically what you need to do that is roaring cries, but I didn't want to invest those points, or didn't have many points to play with, so I've gone for attack speed instead, which I'll show you in a moment. But we've refined the whole tree from the previous setup, where it really just paths across the bare minimum, picks up a whole bunch of extra movement speed nodes all the way up here to place our tech rods, and has a lot of dual slots available to stack a bit of extra attack damage, armor, rage on hit. You can see here, rage on melee hit and just about all the duels, armor, regen, melee damage. And what I've done for the weapon set 2, just to get a little bit of extra value into the melee setup, is invested in all of these attack speed nodes in this cluster here. A lot of melee attacks are very slow, so attack speed is super important for quality of life in terms of making the build feel good. Extra high value node up here while you're killing things, 8% attack speed. And then another good low life node, 25%, and when you're surrounded as well during a high density map, you get that quite often, so 50% effectively attack damage on this node, a bit more there. So we're getting all of our attack melee damage from the Killer Instinct, 100%, and then across I think 5 or 6 jewels getting anywhere from 7 to 15% extra melee damage. And then this node down here as well. So it equates to about 200 to 250% extra melee damage across the board, which is not too bad if you've got a high armor value shield. As you saw during the mapping, the clear is actually quite decent. If I really wanted to fiddle around, I could swap in a very specific plus melee skills amulet and get even more damage. I could do something as simple as quickly going in to my support gems and just putting in Ataluis, and you can see there almost a double, if not more, increase in the shield wall damage. So it can be even more efficient. You could just run around with this and completely play as a melee build and never have to swap into my caster setup. And that really is it. You know, as I said, didn't really want to make this a build guide. I don't recommend this. It's just a little bit of fun that I've been having that I wanted to show you all and showcase. But 2 builds in one. We've got our Demon Form, Ataluis, Tech Rod setup. Our regen is about a half of what it is in the very specialized setup. Can almost hit 6,500, 7,000. So it's quite limited, but I could still sit here and I think get to close to 100 plus stacks and clear everything. If you, well, probably that would help to actually bump up the value. It'd probably be a little bit more than 6.5 now. There we go, into 7, 8, 9. So actually still decent amount of regen. Could probably run well into the 150 or so stacks, and you can see the damage still. My Frostbolt, it's nice and healthy, so we haven't really sacrificed a tremendous amount. This could clear any map very easily. And then we weapon swap, drop our Demon Form. We could actually sit in Demon Form, although the degen would be a bit annoying, and swap those supports around. I've just got a basic shield wall with some damage supports and the 2 war cries with some rage, some extra damage, life tap on everything since we don't really want our mana used, and resonating shield as well. And basically you could just run around putting down shield walls, destroying them. Two builds in one, bit of fun. Highlighting the versatility and the flexibility of the Infernalist. Yeah, that's it. Don't recommend this, but just wanted to share. Enjoy all, and thank you as always. Like, subscribe, and all of that. The support's been tremendous, and see you all in the next video.